Top 10 ways coronavirus will change your life forever. At this moment, COVID-19 is sweeping through the world and the global economy appears to be collapsing. But as more and more people adjust to life in quarantine, we are starting what's becoming a global social experiment. This is going to be a difficult time, but it's also going to be the spark of some incredible changes. The world is engaged in a global work-from-home experiment, and we're going to see firsthand just how sustainable it is. Those studies have always been out there, but if employers see the results firsthand for themselves, there's going to be no denying that letting people continue working from home after the pandemic is over isn't going to send them out of business. The idea of sending every person in a country a monthly check, even if they don't go to work, was starting to crop up on the odd campaign trail, but in most countries, it didn't sound like anything we'd see anytime soon. But for the next few months, it's going to be a reality. They are going to effectively be dry test runs on how these policies really affect society. It's too early to say what the result is going to be. Finland tried universal basic income in 2017 and 2018 and concluded that it left people happy but jobless. 9, which might be what we find in the rest of the world, as well. But one way or another, these debates are going to be a lot less theoretical when the pandemic is over. Companies that use more automation are already doing better than those that rely on cramming human workers into a tightly packed factory. 10, and companies are starting to notice. They've even experimented with robotic hospitals. 12, where machines take your temperature, deliver your meals, and disinfect your room to keep humans from having to come into contact with someone carrying a disease. Schools are shutting down in nearly every country that's seen an outbreak of COVID-19, and that's pushing parents and teachers into a whole new era of education. For the next few months, online learning is going to be the norm. No matter how tech-savvy your teacher is, they are going to have to learn how to make education digital. Still, every teacher in the world is getting a crash course in 21st century learning. They're guaranteed to come back with ideas that will transform how our kids learn. Whether that's a good thing or not is up to debate, but good or bad, there's a lot of reason to believe that it's true. Around the world, people have been embracing big government ever since COVID-19 began to spread. Socialist policies are being implemented all around the world, even in countries led by conservative and libertarian leaders. And even if hands-off government comes back in fashion when this is over, there are bound to be a few bills passed that, before COVID-19, never would have made it through. It's going to be a huge problem, and the country hasn't really had time to react. We can count on the voter turnout being abysmal, and it's going to be a wake-up call for the rest of the world. It's especially going to affect the United States, where primaries are already underway and a federal election is scheduled in November. Americans are going to have to change their voting rules this year, and we can expect those changes to be permanent. 2 in 3 Americans already say they're worried about voting in person. 20, and some are already fighting for change. For the next few months, these businesses and their employees are going to be stripped of any revenue stream that doesn't come from the government. A lot of them aren't going to be able to survive it. That's going to change the face of our world, because, while a lot of local pubs aren't going to survive, the big companies are going to persevere. When people get an appetite to go wining and dining again, and when servers start looking for work again, the big chains will still be there. McDonald's will weather the storm, and that's going to reshape our world. COVID-19 couldn't have come at a worse time for China. Up until now, the world has relied on China as its manufacturing hub. But as China has gone under quarantine and has struggled to keep up its pace, it's become increasingly clear just how dangerous it is to rely on a single location to supply the world. The world is struggling with the shortage of ventilators and face masks, and it's just not feasible to rely on China to take care of it on their own, especially when they've been one of the hardest countries hit. we're going to have to start relying on other countries for manufacturing, and that's going to hurt China long after the pandemic is over. People started to realize that the health of the poor affected everyone, and the first discussions that would lead to universal health care began. There are only a handful of countries that don't have universal health care today, and one developed nation, but this could be the moment that pushes the rest of the world into free health care. 41% of Americans already say that they are more likely to support universal health care in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. 32, and policies seem to be pushing that way, too. If treatment isn't made free before the pandemic's over, we're sure to see more people demanding it. Some people have been coming home with bills as high as $35,000 for treatment, and there's no way that those people aren't going to end up demanding changes. COVID-19 is hitting our health hard, but it's hitting our economy even harder. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs. It's the poor who are going to be hit hardest of all. While office workers are going to be able to work remotely from home, it'll mostly be servers and warehouse workers that suffer through this pandemic. That's going to be painful, but as Scheidel said, equality was only ever brought forth in sorrow. We are going to learn a lot from this experience, and once we know what the real lesson of COVID-19 is, people are going to be demanding change. COVID-19 is going to put us to the test, but when that test is over, we're going to have a better understanding of the cracks in our societies.